Tell us about a time when you had to deal with a difficult client and how did you manage it? An interview question you are likely not to escape whenever you go for care interview, be it support worker, healthcare assistant, domiciliary care. Why? Because the chances that you have to deal with a difficult client or a patient or resident is high. Okay, these people are vulnerable and they have got one medical condition or the other, health condition or the other. So combined with old age, you are likely to deal with a difficult person. So how are you going to manage it? A lot of people have gone for interview and they come back to tell me, they ask us this question, so you are likely not to escape it. How do you answer this question? It is very simple. Tell us about a time when you had to deal with a difficult client. You have to tell them a story. And the story you will tell them is not going to fall from heaven. It is a real life something. You've been dealing with people. Okay, let me say, if you don't understand what it means for somebody to be difficult, let me tell you. When you want to feed somebody, you offer food and they are not eating, they are being difficult. It is challenging. You want to give somebody personal care, shower, bath, what not, they are refusing. They are being difficult. You want to give medication, this person is refusing, they don't want it, they throw it away, they are shouting, they are being difficult. So whenever you want to give care or support and the person is refusing, they are being difficult. Okay, so you just have to tell them a story. Now, I will give you some sample of what you can say. For example, you can say, thank you for that wonderful question. I'd like to share my experience when I dealt with a difficult resident. In my previous place of work, I had one of my residents who is very difficult to give personal care. They don't like to have wash or shower. Instead, they will prefer to take food. So you come in the morning, whenever I come in the morning to offer them personal care, they will refuse. And we'll get busy with other things. We can come back in the afternoon, they will still refuse, or they will start sleeping, they don't want to do anything. So after some time, you took out your time to go close to the resident, communicate with them to know if you will find out why they don't want to have personal care, but they're not saying anything. So you went close, you started going to them with what they like. This resident, they love cup of tea, so you always go with cup of tea. Whenever you're on your break, you go with cup of tea, have a chat with them, and you also try to see if you can get them to wash. So one day you just walk up to them with your cup of tea and biscuit, and you say to the person, it's almost evening, can you have this cup of tea? Let me get you ready to have shower so we can take a walk in the park. And the resident was like, that sounds good, okay. And they have the cup of tea. I got everything prepared for them. They had shower, and I took the person to the park for like 15 minutes. We came back. It was as if it was magic. The next day I tried the same format. It worked for me. The third day it worked for me. So I communicated what I did with my colleagues, and we started using that format. So that was how we start to get the person to have personal care and their hygiene improved. So it's just, you finish answering the question. It's just telling them a story, something that is difficult and how you managed it. Okay? You can also use medication, administration of medication. If you are giving, as an example, if you are giving medication to the resident, you can say that you have a resident who is very difficult to give medication. They don't like to take medication. So what you did was, you communicate with them, you listen to them to find out what their concern is. And after some time, you notice that the resident was not feeling okay because she is missing their family member. It's been a long time they came to visit. So the resident was like, why am I taking my medication for no one is coming to see me? I'm not seeing my daughter, I'm not seeing my son. Why should I take it to get better? They are not coming. And after listening to that, to what they have to say, you promise to call the daughter, because the daughter's number is in the care plan, you promised to call, you told the resident that you're gonna call the daughter and inform her that the mom is missing them, they need to visit. And after that, you offer to play music, because this resident love music. You played music in the radio that is in her room, and you gave the resident cup of tea, and there you gave the resident medication. So they were taking it one by one, and you were observing them, and they become more relaxed because you have promised to call the daughter, and you promised that the daughter will come and see them. And after that, you call the daughter, and the daughter promised to come in the next 2 days. And after 2 days they came. The woman was happy. Okay, so you can also tell them that you've got a resident who is not eating. Whenever you offer food, they don't like to eat, you know, and you communicate. Communication is important. You communicate with them to find out what their concerns is, why they don't want to have their medication. It was during that process you understand that they don't like the food that's being served. They prefer their native food, because this resident is from, is from Nigeria, for example. So there is this native food that this resident always prefer, but this native food is not included in the meal. So when you find out, you have to inform the management, and the chef was informed. So whenever they are making food, the main meal, they try to make a portion of that food the resident wants. And after that, the food intake improved. They started eating. You can even put it in this format that they are not eating when every other person has finished eating. The food still remains on the plate. So you have to study closely, and you find out they are not able to eat with the spoon every other person is using. You have to communicate with them. They confided in you that the spoon is very heavy, and there was provision for another spoon for them to eat. Just tell them a story. Tell them a story. It's not something that is not happening. These things are happening on a daily basis, and we find solutions to it. So they just want to know the type of situations you have there. You can even tell them you've got this resident that is always standing on the door. They want to go home, they don't want to go home, they don't want to stay in their room, they don't want to stay in the unit. They are banging on the doors that they want to go home. So what you did was, you already know this resident, because he or she is my resident. I know their care plan, I know what they like. So what you did was, this resident loves cup of coffee. So whenever they are banging on the door, they want to go home, you will always come with a nice cup of coffee and offer them a nice cup of coffee, and tell them, okay, I will book taxi. Can you have a seat, take your cup of coffee while we wait for taxi? And once they accept that cup of coffee, it is over. They no longer remember it. So I use this distraction technique to get them to come out of the door and be relaxed. So I hope these examples I give will help you. Whenever they ask you this question, please do not be lost. Stop saying, I don't know how, I don't know it, I'm sorry, I don't know. You know it. Okay, even if you are not doing care already, you appeared as somebody that is new without experience. When they ask you, you can use your grandmother or your mom back home, because we all have got elderly parents who are sick, wanting or the, when somebody is sick, they are depressed, they are, in fact, sometimes they are not happy, they are unhappy. So it makes them behave abnormal somehow. It makes them have challenging behavior. So you can tell them you've got your grandma who is at home suffering from stroke or dementia or anything. They are being difficult. You want to shower them, they are running away, they are doing this. Just find something, a situation, and how you managed it. That is all they want to hear. I hope this helps. In case you have any interview question, maybe you went for an interview and you passed, there is one question they ask you, you are not aware of how to answer it, put it in the comment section so that we can explain it and others will learn from it. All right, thank you.